Hey, I think I'm live. Somehow it feels less real when I'm on StreamYard than when I used to be on the old YouTube interface. I'm not quite there. I just accidentally muted myself. So I think maybe Terrence is out there. Comic Crack. It must be 1 a.m. your time. It's 12 p.m. my time. Gonna have a beer. And I guess, it's kind of silly that I am here on YouTube instead of reading comics because I haven't found a lot of time to read comics. I've been slowly chugging through this X-Men and hey, Comics on the Mind. Good to see you. Cheers. But I've been reading it slowly, kind of an issue at a time, because if you read too many, when you read them too quickly, they become more silly seeming. Hey, La Rasa. My favorite person in the London area. This is called Hazy Little IPA. And so I haven't been reading comics much, but I can't stop buying them. And most recently just now I was looking at this Jim Starlin's Dreadstar Returns on Kickstarter, which has already nearly doubled or surpassed anyway. It's let me refresh this page. Surpassed its goal by close to twice as much. They wanted 28,000 and they have 43,000, nearly 44,000 now. Funded in 14 hours. That's pretty amazing. I didn't even hear about it I just read about it on. Oh, Laras is not in Oxford. This is in Oxfordshire, right? That's actually quite a ways from London. So I apologize for that. I just associate you with London because that's where we met up. My favorite person in Oxfordshire, I guess I shouldn't say Shire. Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl, issues 1 through 3. Hey, I liked Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl, and then I liked it even more like halfway through the run. It seemed to get even more dreamlike and cool. So I assume Oxfordshire is includes Oxford University, which would be the only thing I know about Oxford. Yeah, Comics on the Mind says he's buying more Silver Age and Bronze Age comics. Well, actually, so I'll get to it in a little bit, but I actually through TFA, Things from Another World, I bought a whole bunch of not old, new comics that I didn't have yet. Laras is reading Jeff Johns' Flash. Hey, Sam, Mr. Tangled Web. Just finished watching one of your videos. It was on fire. It was great. So all of you guys check each other out if anyone hasn't already checked out Sam's Tangled Web or Comics on the Mind. Larasa hasn't done a video in I'm not sure how long, but go back and dig through her channel if those videos are still up there. And Comic Crack was here. He may have gone to bed. So anyway, where was I? So I'm looking at this Dreadstar thing and trying to I know I'm going to end up spending money and backing it. So it's really a matter of, there's a nice cover. So, and the cool thing is Jim Starlin is back to drawing. He injured his hand and for a long time couldn't draw, and he's found a way to get back into drawing. I think maybe Jamie Jameson is his inker. I'm not positive. Hey, Terrence, you're still here. I don't know if you're a Dreadstar fan, Terrence. It seems in your wheelhouse of 80s independent comics. But anyway, so I'm kind of psyched to get a hold of that Jim Starlin Dreadstar Returns, even though I know that I haven't loved Jim Starlin's art style as much as I used to, but still it seems important for him to be the one drawing it. And maybe he felt the same way because he's kind of waited. So I'll have to decide at what level to pledge. I need at least the hardback, so that's $30 right there. Dreadstar returns, and you get the digital edition too. I might jump in and Chaos and Comics is here. Oh, and by the way, if anyone wants to jump on, let me know here in the comments, or I'll check on. Oh, do I have a message on? Yeah, I will check on YouTube or Twitter. I probably shouldn't be showing my Twitter. Somehow that seems more private. I don't know why. Anyway, so there's the $30 pledge, but I wonder if I want the $50 pledge and get a Dreadstar t-shirt. I've been buying a lot of t-shirts lately. That's one of the things I've been doing online. I bought t-shirts from a YouTuber named Stango Tiger Fists, and I've been buying a lot of t-shirts. I wish I had them here with me. I'll show them in other videos. I've been buying t-shirts of this letterer named Pat Brousseau. I think I'm following him because of Jared Osborne on Twitter, and he's selling these really cool t-shirts with like lettering things on them, like still only 35 cents and things like that. So I've been buying those t-shirts. And yes, tomorrow is Wednesday. Sam says I've missed some new I'm missing some new comics. Oh, missing, yes, some to go back on. And so anyway, so this is one way I'm thinking of spending my money here. Maybe the $50 with the t-shirt. Although, what's this Dreadstar guidebook? I guess I want the Dreadstar guidebook, Dreadstar Universe guidebook. I want the Dreadstar hardcover, and I want the t-shirt. So I don't know if I can get all of those in one. No, and here's one with the black book. I already have the black book. That was on another thing. So maybe I can't. Sometimes that's frustrating about Kickstarter. You can't always get all the things together that you want. Yeah, Terrence, I have like about 4 of these lettering special effects t-shirts now. One of them you may have seen in another video. It says boom on it, but in the mail yesterday I got, but given the virus and everything around, I'm washing clothes before I wear them that come in the mail. Hey, yeah, Sam mentions he's missing friends, drinking coffee with them. I love hanging out with Sam, drinking coffee, hanging out with Bueller and Bullseye Bob. So yeah, spend, says Chaos and Comics. I'm lucky my income is not, as of yet, affected by any of these problems. So I still have money to spend, and I feel it's my duty to pump some of it into the economy. Amazingly, my wife's work is heavier than ever. She's working at home, but we hardly ever see her. She's so busy. Hey, we should suggest a crack one to the Pat Brousseau, the letterer. So I'm having trouble even just keeping up with comments. Snake Sin says hello from Iraq. That's very cool. Comic book fan over in Iraq. I salute you, Snake Sin. I don't know if I'll have to check if you have a channel or if I'm subscribed to you or not. Yeah, we have the Portland Comics crew. So we're so close yet so far away now. So then let's see. In terms of, let's see if I can show a different screen. Share, I gotta go to my share screen. Chrome tab. So I mentioned I'm gonna share, whoops. I can't see myself in StreamYard. Okay, I can do that. This is my eBay page. So I went crazy earlier this evening, which is what brought suddenly my awareness into my brain. Okay, you're going a little crazy. I don't know if you remember on a previous video, I was showing these production pages that I got off of eBay for, I think, about $12 each. And I really liked them. So I thought, well, I'll get a few more. And I started searching for them. And I just started doing the lowest on anything that didn't have any bids on it. I just did the lowest bid on each one of them. and suddenly realized I'd done 20 of them. So luckily, some of them I've already been outbid on. I would like a few more, but I probably don't want to have 15 or 20 more, at least buy them all at once. So most of them are $11.95 plus $6.95 shipping. So really they're about $19. And I kind of felt like that was a fun thing to have. Jared Osborne, mentioning him again, thought that these were probably pretty legitimate in terms of not being fakes or copies or what have you. I have no idea what they're really worth, but it's kind of fun to have them as part of my I'm starting to think I'm developing a personal comic book museum. So like this one's a cool one where you would get a production piece with some Gil Kane art, not the original art, of course. But anyhow, I kind of liked that. So let me stop the screen share for now. So another thing I did a while ago was order a bunch of things from TIFA that I hadn't already ordered, because I've been trying to support my regular comic book shop, but Things from Another World is a very reliable comic book shop for new comics and other stuff, but not old comics here in Portland, along with them having a web store. So I ordered a bunch of comics, and they were a bit slow to get here, but they said they would be slow because of the virus, but they got here. So somehow I had missed at my regular shop getting the next issue of Old Guard Force Multiplied. So I was really happy to get that. And a cool thing is I paid for the bag and board. I think it might have been 10 cents more per book. And I like the little TIFA sticker that they use to hold it together rather than a piece of tape. I don't know why I like that, but that was particularly nice to me. I also missed Hawkman 22, and normally I don't like these logo-less variants, but this is by, what's the name of that artist? Zafino. And I thought, well, Hawkman drawn by Zafino, I want to have that. So I grabbed that. And I'd been grabbing, when I found it, Kill Lock, which was recommended by Bullseye Bob and Travis, Mr. Bueller. And I hadn't gotten issue 4. I hadn't run into that in a comic book shop, so I grabbed it since they had it at TIFA, even though I haven't read issues 1 through 3 yet. The Hawkman run is quite good. It kind of, well, it was really good. Rasa was asking me if the Hawkman run is good. It was really good the first 12 issues, and then maybe because of events or something, it just lost steam, event crossovers and stuff. And I stopped reading it around issue 15. And then I came back, I don't know, around maybe issue 19 or 18, 19 or so. And it was really good again. So I've jumped back on it. Maybe I'll search backwards for more issues. Another book that I have not read yet, but I've been collecting the issues again because of Bueller and Bullseye Bob, was Folklords, and they really love this book. So I've been meaning to get down to reading it. But once I let a book slip, it slips for a long time. Another book that I've been letting slip, I've been buying but not reading, Family Tree by Jeff Lemire and Phil Hester. I love Phil Hester artwork, and half the time I love Jeff Lemire books, and other times they fall flat. They always have a good part, but often they fall flat for me at the end. And I grabbed a physical copy of Hidden Society, which I had read digitally and really loved. Actually, this is an interesting one because I loved the art more digitally, or I love the coloring more digitally. Yeah, probably Chaos and Comics has probably been recommending Folklords, and that also influenced me. And Comics on the Mind says he loves Family Tree, which I haven't read yet. I just picked that up. I mean, it looks quite nice physically, but digitally. So let me do the screen share again because I have my digital copy up here. It's almost like I'm prepared. Not really, though. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Screen share again, application window. There we go. So this is the digital version of this issue. And let's see if I can find the same page. Anyway, the colors just blow me away on the colors blow me away on the screen of my excessively large 27-inch computer, and they look nice on the page, but I really take in a lot more. Like if you look, I don't know if you can see my pointer, that this background bridge here that's been turned to another color, it just looks perfect on the screen, and it's just kind of okay there. But even more, I think the faded stuff on the skin tones and stuff looks way better on the screen. So it's interesting to see. I'm still glad to have a physical copy. I have a little bit of a grudge against colorists for maybe not thinking more about how things print out on paper. I talked to a colorist and I said, do you ever try printing things out just on your printer or something to see what they look like? He said, no, I never do that. Something is Killing the Children is another book that has been raved about by a lot of people that I should have been picking up, but I never could find issue 1. So I'm just waiting for the trade on that. Maybe the trade's out now. Yeah, and you guys are seeing this, my example here on a much smaller than I'm seeing it. So the colors just looked amazing on this thing, but it looked good as a comic book, but it just, and another thing is the transparency of the colors is much greater on the computer screen, so that I could actually make out the line work, which is, initially what drew me to this comic, because I love Raphael Albuquerque's line work. It's what drew me to the line work. Let's see. Yeah, like, oops, keep doing this the wrong way. These two, you just see a lot more of the line work over here in the digital version. It's none of the line work is obscured at all by the shades of color. Maybe it's just inevitable that you'll get better color in most cases with digital, but it kind of upsets me a little bit. So let's see. And then I also, I may have double dipped by accident. I'm not sure if I have already had issue 5 of Undiscovered Country. I didn't research too deeply before I started grabbing books on TFA. And then I got the Terrifics number 26. I was just amazed that the Terrifics were still around. I was kind of a fan of the Terrifics when they first came out, but kind of a hopeful fan, hoping I would like it more. But then after a while, I dropped it. But now that it's still going, because I was sure it was going to end anytime soon. Now that it's still going, I'm kind of curious what's kept it still going. So I bought issues number 24 and 25 off the racks at my store and realized there was another issue out. So I grabbed that at TFA. And then I went kind of crazy because my tiny shop does not carry True Believers. So I only pick up True Believers when I'm in other shops. So Terrifics number 2. Okay, so I've already read, I think I read the first 8 or 9 issues of Terrifics, and it was kind of up and down as the artists kept changing. I think that was part of the problem. When there was a really good artist, it was really great, and then it would, then the artist would change and it would lose something. So I think each of these was 80 cents at TFA, but of course I was paying postage and everything. Yeah, Sam is big on True Believers. True Believers are such a great bargain. I'm thinking when I get around to reading them of maybe like the same way I do a comic book countdown for new comics, I might just grab a bunch of True Believers and do a comic book countdown on that, about give my thoughts and which ones I liked most and which ones I liked least. Here we have the Giant Size Avengers. I had this as a kid, I remember, but I can't remember what happened in the issue. It looks like the Vision and Wanda get married here. I don't know if they really do. The cover layout looks weird. It just looks like there's stuff missing here, I guess. But anyway, I love these True Believers. And in fact, I read Avengers, whatever number Avengers this was, I think maybe 12 or 14, or maybe a little later than that, 16. I read this when I was a kid, but in a reprint. I think it was Marvel Triple Action was the Avengers reprints. And I think I had this one too. I think at this point, I had a subscription to the Avengers that came as a kid. So this is a kind of crucial Ultron story with, I think, George Perez art on the inside also. It's a George Perez cover, I'm almost positive. I'm losing track of the Comics on the Mind, his oldest Avengers book. Oh, it's number 19. Okay. And it was interesting to have the swordsman join the group because he was really a dick. So Chaos and Comics says, since the facsimiles got popular, they started obscuring and editing out pages in True Believers, though. Huh. To look into that. That would be sad. Yeah, this cover looks really weird without the proper trade dress. Annihilation, Annihilus. But I think it's got some great John Buscema artwork inside. These Tefal stickers are much easier to handle than Scotch tape. I don't feel at all like my comics are in danger with them. I feel like I may have read a friend's copy of this when I was a kid. Here's the original cover. It holds together a lot better there than it does, than it does there somehow. It's just not balanced right. Yeah, that is a great idea to do a shop sticker. I wonder if any other shops have thought of that. It just keeps reminding you that you got this at Tifa. A lot of shops will stamp the backing board, at least on back issues. Sam says, for the most part, True Believers haven't been too bad. I mean, for $1, and you get a lot of some of the really good stuff done in the past. Here's Man Wolf. This is also George Perez, I think really early in his career. Sam can point out to people who love George Perez that it was Marvel who brought him into the world. And George Perez and Frank Giacoa do the artwork. Frank Giacoa being the inker, and written by David Kraft, who sometimes went by David Anthony Kraft. Doesn't look blurry at first glance. This was a fun series. It got really kind of wild and fantasy-esque. Funny that for a character that got his start with Spider-Man. Annihilation Mantis. You know what? Ross is asking if I picking up dollar DC issues. I've only picked up a few. A lot of them are more recent, or I'll recognize that they're part of a really large story rather than something I can just pick up and read alone. Well, this was always in a kind of unique Fantastic Four cover by Jack Kirby. I don't know off the top of my head which Fantastic Four issue that was. And here's a Fantastic Four that I've never read or seen before, so I'm curious why they chose this one. It's a really cool cover, though. Kind of looks like Walt Simonson art. Perhaps that's what it is. I don't know. I will investigate further. Actually, I'll open it up right now. Maybe the cover was by Paul Ryan. The inside is by Paul Ryan. So trying to remember, is Paul Ryan the guy who used to do the X-Men for a while, or is that a different person with a similar name? Anyway, Empire Legia. So maybe it introduces a character who's going to be part of Empire. Another Avengers. The Secret of the Hooded One. Is that also the guy from Secret Wars? I'm not sure. Yeah, I saw you were picking up Mr. Miracle comics on mine. I love Mr. Miracle. I think I saw on your channel that you were picking up Mr. Miracle or somewhere. These comics are sliding around. Bagged and boarded comics. You cannot manage easily. They just slide around. Oh, here's a facsimile. And this one was an odd one. Why they did a facsimile of it, I am not sure, but I just picked it up anyway because it just seemed fun to pick up. And at this point, I'm just buying comic books because I want more comics, and I feel insecure because what's happening to the comic book industry. Oh, I think what we've got here is Rich Buckler in his full-on imitating Jack Kirby mode, which he does very well. And he was on Thor for a while, and I remember really liking that as a kid, seeing Rich Buckler do Thor. There was a really great couple of issues that he did with Thor and Ego, the Living Planet, that I remember really liking. So yeah, here's another facsimile. Which is this just because it's the issue after 181, so it's of interest to people? Or is there something special about our Hammer and Anvil making a big comeback? I have a feeling I like this issue better than Hulk 181, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll see when I reread it. Rasa, I had a very complete Thor run that disappeared on me. Rasa asked Damien, don't you have Thor run? So that I have been rebuying some Thor over the years, but I find it painful to buy them all. So I don't have them all anymore. And when I say them all, I didn't have the early Journey into Mystery Thor even back then, but I had a very extensive Thor run going up to the era with Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz, which I really loved. So yeah, I don't know when it disappeared. I suspect it was one of my roommates in the 90s who took all of those. I also had I had a totally complete Tomb of Dracula run that I loved, and that went missing, and that will be expensive to replace. But I think I'm just going to try and get those in omnibuses and have a few issues that I happen to see cheaply and pick those up just to have them in floppies. I bought more. So this actually was before everything closed. I went one last time to Excalibur Comics, and they still hadn't gotten their new comics. They had a whole other problem with Diamond forgetting to send them comics for 4 weeks. Chaos and Comics says, yeah, that's what you get for hanging out with anarchist punks. These might have been more like hippie punks or hippies who were selfish little hippies. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to describe these people who I had as roommates at one point. And it may or may not have been them. So I don't really know. So I was in this other store, Excalibur Comics, before they closed, and I kept going in there. They're usually the place where I get things like True Believers and other stuff that my small store doesn't carry. But I felt terrible for them that some computer glitch at Diamond Distributors had screwed up somehow, and this is the biggest comic book store in Portland, and they hadn't got their comics for 4 weeks, and I think it was like really hurting their business. So I looked for something that I wanted to buy there, and I ended up buying more issues of 1999, the kind of smutty science fiction book from Warren magazines. I think it was one of their last new books before they finally gave up on publishing. So I guess going blue did not help them out in the end. But it certainly has a lot of beautiful art in it. Lots of Alex Nino and Esteban Morato. Let's see, and some really great stuff from Frank Thorne. I'm not sure who this is. So I've only read a few stories in these, but just because I love the art, I want to get them all, and maybe eventually I'll read most of them. I don't know who Delando Nino, is that a relative of Alex Nino, or just a common name in the Philippines, perhaps? I don't know. So I got 1994, number 27. So it went on for quite a while, although the numbering continues from 1984. Number 25. That's probably supposed to be the Frank Thorne character Gita on the cover, I'm guessing. And arts-wise, this may be some of the very best Frank Thorne work ever, at least that I'm aware of, on his Gita series. But it is all about the breasts. Yes, let's party like it's 1994. I wonder how old Chaos in Comics was in 1994. I was like 32. Yeah, okay, I'm looking at breasts. Sorry, excuse me. Let's see. That's also Revenge of the Star Queen. I like that cover. This one is issue number 24, so I guess I'm going backwards. Now, that's a cool cover. You know, all the shops around here sell magazine boxes. Comic Crack was saying he's lucky that, and some of them even sell them at the same price. I buy them as short boxes. Some of them sell them at the same price as the comic book boxes, and some sell them for 50 cents more. I'm just looking for fun art to show you. These artists put a lot of work into each page. It seems funny because I think they made less money, and they certainly made less money in the aftermarket for art. Sam was 22 in 1994. So, yeah, I think Sam and I are about 10 years apart, which makes us almost part of the same generation. I think of myself as an honorary member of Generation X because I don't at all relate to baby boomers, but I guess I was born in the last year or two of the baby boom. Who's that art? That looks really nice. The Ugliest Woman in Creation is the name of this story. I don't see the artist listed. Nice layouts and everything. And number 23. That's kind of an ugly face on the cover there. Hey, Mass Panther. Thanks for joining us. You're probably up very late by, what is it, Ohio time? But what does time mean right now for most of us who are locked in? Oh, there's an ugly cover, number 28. That seems very of its time, maybe. Too many Termaros. Huh. Oh, and I bought extra True Believers when I was at that comic book store also. Hey, Chris, Dark Avenger C86 also must be very late your time. And here is a dollar comic from DC. this looked like it was promising. I don't know what issue of the Flash this is. It's Baron, Geis, and Malstad. So I guess it's when they kind of rebooted the Flash as Wally West, I believe. Let's see. The art back then was, I don't know, it wasn't as bold in DC Comics. It might not have been so bold in Marvel Comics right at this time either. I don't see a reproduction of the cover telling me what issue this is from. Unless this was the Flash #1, perhaps, at that time. Okay, and here's a dark confession. I have not really read Locke Key yet. But now I have this Treasury edition of Locke Key. I don't know if this is from the first story arc or later. I can figure that out. I haven't even opened this up yet. But so this is another thing I bought at Excalibur because I felt bad that they had no business. Yeah, everyone loves Locke Key. So you're right, Dark Avenger. I need to read it. And I think I actually owned some digital copies at one point when I was more enthusiastic about digital, but just didn't get around to it. So hopefully maybe this will explain somewhere on it, whether it's in the correct continuity. But I love getting things big-sized. Hey, Max Washington. If any of you don't know about Max, he's a comic book fan, but his channel is mostly incredible songs that he reinterprets, and sometimes jams and stuff that he's written himself. So I encourage everyone to check out Max's channel. Weird Dad. My brother gave me the trade box set. I assume you're talking about Locke Key, and I haven't read past volume 2. It wasn't really grabbing me. Chaos in Comics says Locke Key is on Comics Unlimited, and he'd like to get around to it. Yeah, there are all of us come back to comics at some point and then hear about all these things we've missed. And then becomes a very big stack of stuff that you ought to read. I still haven't read Preacher. I still haven't read Locke Key, but there's another one from that period where I wasn't paying much attention to comics. So, yeah, do I have anything left to show or talk about? Last Wednesday, kind of inspired by Chaos in Comics, or definitely inspired by Chaos in Comics, I bought a bunch of new comics, new small digital, small company digital comics on Comixology. But the only one I've read yet is Cutman, and I did it first because I follow the artist on Twitter, and I think he's kind of an up-and-coming guy. He's kind of in the Darwin Cook kind of vein, I suppose. Probably other better ways to describe him. Robert Ahmed. I think he lives in England, but I'm not positive. Sometimes hard on Twitter to be sure. So this was I thought it was quite a cool comic for a small press comic. It's hard to tell, whether since you don't know the author and track record, whether he'll be able to pull it off long term. But I enjoyed this first issue, and I think I do wish he had full color, because I think Richard Ahmed's color, his line work would be well suited by color. He colored the cover himself, and that was really cool. But he uses almost all blue except for these flashbacks where he uses a shade of orange. So yeah, it's an interesting one to check out if you have the stomach for digital. Yes, I want to leave the page. Oh, and I got Miracle Man the first volume. They only sell this volume. They only sell Miracle Man on certain platforms. Like I couldn't find Miracle Man on just my Marvel app. Anyway, I'd been, since Marvel got the rights and was printing it, I was waiting for them to do a Miracle Man omnibus, but they just haven't put one out yet. And I don't want one of their cheaper glued binding hardbacks. So I decided just to go digital for now. I don't think I ever read the entirety of Miracle Man. I was getting them in Warrior magazine, and then I read a few of the later ones that came out from, what was the publisher? I can't remember now. But anyway, they came out from a small press publisher in America under the name Miracle Man instead of Marvel Man. So that's some of my digital purchases. And so some other ones here that are by small presses that I should be reading since I bought them to try out small press stuff. Alpha Mode, Uncanny Republic, Balancing Act, Crimson Scorpion, and, well, Adventure Finders is one I've already read some previous volume in the past. They're a fun kids comic from Rod Espinoza, and Doors of the Real. So I like that title. That sounds cool. Let's take a peek. So I think this is a series of different short stories by different creators, or maybe all by the same creators. I'm not sure. It kind of looks digitally drawn, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so I should be getting down to reading, but I did finish a whole novel, actually, which is of some interest to us comic book fans because it's The Oracle Year by Charles Soule. And it's written in this classic commercial thriller style, I guess I would call it, with lots of short chapters and switching between different characters, many of whom kind of fit certain cliches: the evil politician, the manipulative televangelist, and some computer genius, and all of those kinds of things. But with this unusual premise of centered around a guy who receives in a dream 108 predictions of things that will happen in 1 year, and they all start happening. And he has a friend who's like a Wall Street guy, and they figure out how to sell some of his predictions for hundreds of millions of dollars to big Wall Street investment firms. And then things get crazy. So it's definitely a fun read. Parts of it are more, in one of those thrillers, you kind of want everything to be, if you're going to go for that, kind of cliche, not deep characterization kind of thriller, you want everything to keep moving. And every once in a while it will slow down. And you almost feel like Charles Soule is saying, well, I've got to make this 400 pages long. So what can I do to make sure I pad out the book enough? But overall, I really enjoyed it a lot. And he landed the ending pretty well, which can be hard. So that's Charles Soule, the comic book writer. It's his first novel. And it's also a nice hardback. I got it remaindered, actually, which I guess is not good for Charles Soule. But so they put that little line someone draws a line there, and then it's remaindered, which I think means the author does not get his royalties on it. Anyway, for a first novel from Charles Soule, very good. And he has a second one coming. Oh, I was going to say, it was a hardback, but without a dust jacket. And most commercial hardbacks just have a blank cardboard jacket underneath. And they kind of imitate a dust jacket by putting these little glued on flaps that look like the dust jacket flap to have the typical stuff you have on the dust jacket flaps. On the other hand, I'm always marvel at, these quite expensive hardbacks for novels often come on this very cheap paper that You can hear it as I rub it. It's kind of like newsprint. And you can see the print from the other side through the paper when you hold it up to the light. So they definitely, even though they definitely don't try to lure people into buying hardbacks by getting this quality archival thing the way we do when we buy an expensive hardback in a comic book, which is in color. So I think a lot more money goes into you get your money's worth more in a hardback from comics than novels. So that's pretty much my update. I did hear that Diamond Publishing has had financial problems already and is not paying people the money they owe them, or paying them very slowly. And then the creators are getting even, their back pay. They're not going to get any forward pay for a few months. Their back pay, they're not getting as quickly as they may need it. And that's pretty sad. Yes, Chaos and Comics, he just released his second novel, and I think I will hunt that down. I can't remember the title of it right now. I saw it at the bookstore, and it had a very similar cover. So it's kind of like one of those deals where he's not writing a series, but they're marketing him as an author with a recognizable series of covers. So I assume the other novel will also be written in the same kind of fast-paced thriller style. It's kind of a shame because I liked this idea of these 108 predictions that reshape the world in unexpected ways. And it would have been nice done as a more literary character study type of book. And I think Charles Soule has the talent to do that. I mean, I think he just chose the thriller format because he wanted to be a marketable author, I suppose. Chaos and Comics says, I want to read Alan Moore's novels. And I feel like maybe Alan Moore goes the other way in his novels, although I haven't read any. I think I used to flip through a few pages of them. And I think he tries to go super literary. And I kind of like it in the middle. I like books with a lot of characterization and some style in the language, not just kind of generic writing. But when people get too fancy and esoteric, they can lose me too in their novels. Although that's not always the case. Different writers can pull it off better than others. So I should try Alan Moore. I also get the feeling maybe Warren Ellis has done a few novels that may be kind of esoteric also, although I'm not 100% sure if I'm right about those. LaRosse, are you saying you'd rather read some of his picture books? You're referring to Alan Moore, I assume, not Charles Soule. I mean, I feel like some of Charles Soule's comics, anyway, are much more literary than this novel. Like the work he did on Swamp Thing, I really love that run, and the work he did on what's it called, Curse Words. So, and I haven't read a lot of Charles Soule's Marvel work, but maybe some of that has a literary touch too, or maybe not. I don't know. Chaos and Comics says Warren Ellis's books are not esoteric. They are sci-fi like his comics. And this one, Oracle Year, obviously is sci-fi in the sense of thinking about how history might change and stuff. Oh, Comics on the Mind. I definitely recommend Charles Soule's Swamp Thing run. I wish it had gone even longer, but I guess it went as long as it could before DC pulled the plug on the New 52. And Charles Soule even did an awesome job on the Red Lanterns, which I was reading when Peter Milligan was in the New 52, when Peter Milligan was writing it. And despite Peter Milligan usually being a great writer, he just could not make the Red Lanterns work. And then Charles Soule took him over and it kind of sang. It had this, I don't know. I think, because I know that Charles Soule is a musician, also a guitarist and singer. I found a YouTube video of him once, and I feel like his best work is like a musical composition. It has those rhythms and riffs and stuff. Max says he loves Charles Soule, Darth Vader. I didn't realize he did Darth Vader. I'll have to look for that someday. I'm always reluctant to read Star Wars fiction. I have here and there, whether it's comic books or novels. but I always pull back and say, oh, I want to read original stuff rather than things based on Star Wars, but it may be kind of a silly prejudice. I assume no one out there wants to jump on with me, but if anyone does, let me know. Otherwise, I'll probably wrap this up pretty soon. Mass Panther says Disney Star Wars doesn't really count. Chaos and Comics says Soul's Darth Vader is incredible, but so is Kieran Gillen's Star Wars. I read a few issues of Jason Aaron's Star Wars. Maybe I should hunt down the Kieran Gillen. Kieran Gillen does a lot of cool stuff. I mean, sometimes, like, what was that series of his that was so popular, Wicked and Divine? It went over my head or under my head, or I don't know, it just blew right past me. I think I read 3 or 4 issues, but then I loved that. His current book, Once and Future. I loved his, what was it called? The thing where that was a take on the Watchmen that he did at Dynamite recently. Okay, let's see. Yeah, sorry, I was just checking something to see if someone on Twitter had answered my call to come join me. But so it's not so easy to expect anyone to want to just hop on with you at the last minute. So I think I will say goodnight now. A great thank you to all the people who have joined me. It looks like 19 people are watching now. We had Comic Crack, Comics on the Mind, La Raza, Chaos and Comics, Sam's Tangled Web, Dark Avenger C86, Weird Dad, and be sure to check all of these people and see if they have a channel. And if they do, check out their channels, give them a try. Who else have we got? Max Washington Songs, who I greatly appreciate. And is that Paulo Costa? Hey, he says good morning. He probably just woke up. And I'm about to go to bed soon. Well, not really. I'll probably stay up reading. Got some new comments. Paulo says he's trying to wake up. Might as well make some breakfast. Thanks for catching it live, Chris. Okay, so enjoy your breakfast, enjoy your night's sleep, and I will see all of you again pretty soon. And yeah, sorry, Terrence, because Terrence Comic Crack and I have talked about, we always have wanted, to do more Hangouts together and talked recently about doing it, but I never know. I have trouble planning in advance. It's a real thing for me right now, but I will try to plan something where we can get together. Oh, right, Paulo. YouTube took away the ability to go to channels other people. I was hoping that was just on my phone and that maybe you can still do it online, like if you're on a browser on a computer, but maybe they've taken that away, which really kind of sucks. Good night, Chris. Yeah, Rasa, good morning for you, I assume. Okay, I'll talk to you all very soon.